Good morning, everyone. What's up? We are doing our wakey bakey. I know it's been a minute, you guys, but we have been working on some stuff. As you could tell, I've got a new little frame. We've got some new overlays, working on a bunch of production work and educating myself. But on a kind of new end, we are also working with some reform groups and trying to create change on a federal level. So those are some updates that'll be coming up here. This will probably be about an hour live stream, you guys. There's so much to talk about. As you can see, my title on this live stream is "My Facebook feed has been pissing people off," and I couldn't be more happy. We'll get more into that, but first, it's wakey bakey time, right? Wanted to show you guys, I actually got a new bong. I've been showing you guys this one, which my bongs are dirty right now. I really need to clean them. Also, remember, if you comment on this stream on Facebook, I can pop your comments up on the screen like so, and we can view them, answer any questions you might have, and then reply to any comments. I'm also going to be switching out some banners. So for production style, you guys are going to see some different qualities of production from my live streams now, and some overlays. Now, I want to talk a little bit before we get too into it, but back to my bong. So I have a subscription for Daily High Club. This is the one that I was smoking last time I did live streams. This is the one that I got from Daily High Club before that one. I just got, hello? Do you guys remember the brick phones from the early 90s? This one's dirty too, I gotta clean it. But just got this one. So I think I'm actually gonna be toking out of this one. I really do like the narrow mouthpieces. So yeah, cheers you guys. Sending clouds your way. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Don't forget to comment below so we can pop it up on the screen. Now, I want to go through a couple things on this new setup thing that I have. As you guys can tell, right here, I have the La Reina de Mota line. This is the logo line for the t-shirts that we are going to be putting out. As you can tell, we have different varieties, inclusion, diversity right here amongst the La Reina de Mota line, because when it comes right down to it, if you toke and you're a woman, you're a La Reina de Mota. You own that motivation. So it's just a couple things that I've designed that we're going to be putting out on t-shirts soon. So stay tuned for that. Oh, I'm just so excited. I really like the new look of the overlays and the banners that we have now. On this end, these are all the projects that I've created, or businesses that I've created, or organizations that I've created from scratch. So Candy Catwalk, of course. Embrace the AI Productions, which is who produces all of these live streams in our YouTube channel and our YouTube shows. And then the CDCA, which is the Cannabis Diversity Council and Alliances, who is working with Sean King on federal reform right now. And then Puff and Slurp is a live virtual event that we do. It's an adult sesh, so that's an event. Then this is my digital agency, which handles social media, website design, graphic design for small to mid-sized businesses, and helps you grow into a large business. So this is the new setup for the live streams with La Reina de Mota. I got a new tongue ring, so it's like la, la, la. I think I scratched my lip yesterday. For some reason, it feels like it burns. But yeah, so Tell me what you guys think. Comment below. We'll pop it up on the screen and we'll talk about it. If you don't like it, comment below. Be constructive, because when you get real sassy pants and foul with me, like I get super sassy and real foul. So we're gonna take one more rip. Cheers. So let's get started with the topics of today. It's wakey bakey time, you guys, with La Reina de Mota. We're going to do some changes of scenery right here. We're going to go ahead and take off our overlay and pop up our banners for this sesh. I don't really know if I like the way those look. I think I would prefer the old style. So let's go default. Bam, there we go. Are you angry with my feed? Good. So let's get into it. You guys have been posting a lot of articles about men of color, primarily have been men of color, but people of color in general who have been murdered, unarmed, or non-lethal process was needed to handle some of these murders by police officers. I have brought up articles from 7 years ago when people were having the discussions that we're starting to have again this year, but the discussions are leading to change, actual change. There's reform bills that are going into place all over the country. So Colorado, my hair is like getting in my face, so I'm gonna have to tie it up. Colorado is submitting a reform bill that will ban chokeholds, will hold police accountable. They are dropping or requesting to drop the immunity clause that does not allow public citizens to sue police officers directly. They're hoping that will assist, because once they put that immunity clause in a lot of stuff, those police officers were like, well, we could do what we want because we're not going to get sued. So this new bill in Colorado, let me push this back a little bit. This new bill in Colorado is actually bringing up those type of reforms, those reform policies, which are great. I think it should start at your local level. And when you organize to create some type of reform or change, you definitely want to start at your local level, especially if you are organizing locally. If you're creating a group to create legislation or to create bills, and you are doing it in a local vicinity, typically that's a great way to get change within your localities. Beautiful start. It starts with organizing. I've been watching and learning and reading into a lot of politics, you guys. It's not my thing. It never has been my thing as far as legislation and bills. And my thing has always been the initial step of organizing and creating the groups and the teams that are going to discuss and build and make change. So I've been sharing a lot of things on my feed related to police brutality instances, simply because there are a lot of people who are claiming that this is something new. It's not something that we've had to deal with. Why is everybody making it a big deal? And it's not. This is something that has been, it's a systematic problem. It is not a overnight change that is going to resolve everything. It's going to take a very long time. It's going to take a lot of people organizing. It's going to take a lot of people fighting for the changes that are needed to make all people, okay, since so many of you are like, all lives matter. To all of you, it's not about your life. It's not about my life. It's not about specific lives. We're not saying, when we say Black Lives Matter, that doesn't mean all lives don't matter or Black lives only matter. That's not what the movement's about. So check that first. The mention of Black Lives Matter is to remind you that they are people, because they're not being treated as such. And so maybe you should back up, sit down, think about the fact that we have so many instances of people of color being, racially profiled. even if you don't go on just the premise of how many people of color have been murdered by police officers, but you go on the premise of how many people have been racially profiled. Like, we have a fucking term for it for a reason. It happens. And this, denying it isn't going to make it any fucking better. So people who are saying, oh no, police don't racially profile. Aurora Police Department in Colorado is on record of stating that they have used racial profiling techniques in order to decipher who's a criminal and who's not. That right there tells you, if that statement is made, that tells you that that police department has admitted that they're fucked up, and they don't go on basis of the criminal element. They go, or the law breaking, or the instance of actual defiance of the policies in which we have to live under. They are already making a statement which says so many things. It says, one, they don't care if white folks do crime because white folks aren't considered criminal to them. That's stated by saying that we racially profile or use racial profiling techniques to decipher who's a criminal and who's not. So they're automatically assuming that if you are of color, you will be a criminal. That's fucking sick. I've been sharing a lot of articles of police rebuttals, police city sheriffs and lieutenants and captains who are, or fraternal order, presidents who are standing up and saying, making statements as well. Angry, so angry that they need respect. You don't get respect automatically. And one thing that we have to remind society is that police officers are quote unquote civil servants. That means they work for the people. That means they are to serve the people. And I think a lot of that actual base principles of creating police forces have been lost, because the base principles were to be, members of society, because they're still civilians. They're police officers when they clock in. When they clock out, they're off-duty police officers. They are still, human and not civilian. They're still human. And so my whole thought process on a lot of this is that a lot of the base principles of what a police force was intended to be created for has been lost. They no longer feel they serve the people. When the people say, hey, no, I want you to do this. Like, I want you to call your lieutenant because you suck at being a police officer. When someone says that, that officer should be paging his lieutenant because the person requested. As long as that person is not assaulting him in any sort of way physically, because verbally you can call a police officer whatever the fuck you want. And another thing to know is that if you state, in my opinion, and then blurt out a whole bunch of bullshit towards a cop, you're in your legal right, because you have an opinion and you have the right to vocalize it, even to an officer of the law. You also have the right to record in public, meaning you standing on a public sidewalk, you can record whatever facility, you can publicly record police officer action. That is all within the law. Now, if you have a police officer that walks up to you and says, stop recording, I would like you to stop recording, and they do this, or they attempt to take your device, let them take your device, but automatically know that when they violated your Fourth Amendment right, they violated police policy, procedure in federal coverage. Like, you have the right to record as long as you're on public property. Now, individuals who are not civil servants, you don't have the right to record private property, meaning you can't go and record a police officer's home because you could be sued. But you can definitely stand on public sidewalk and record police brutality on the streets. So, I think we not only need to educate and create reform and create federal change, but I think we also should discuss about education of the people, teaching people how to organize, teaching people how to reach out to legislators, teaching people how to acquire attorneys to help you with processes. This is vital, you guys. I'm right now at that point where I'm having to learn how to do this because I am serious about the CDCA and about me and about my family being involved in creating federal change. But like you can say you want federal change. If you don't know the process on how to actually create that, then you're going to need to know that before you can even start. So I stood up and was like, I want federal change. I'm going to gather all these people together and I'm going to see who wants to work with me to do this. And here's some attorneys. Here's some people that I know that are lobbyists. Here's some people that I know that have done political things. Here's people who I know can advise me. But I didn't even know what the fuck the next step is. And I still am learning what the steps are. I know there's mission statements that have to be created as far as having an organization built in order to push this. We have to find a way to connect with a 501c6 because we're going to have to fundraise. This is going to cost a lot of money to have federal change. And I know that people are making changes on a local level, but we strongly feel that unless there is federal policy change and policy change for the progression of the communities, then, we're going to continue to see the same shit over and over and over. We might see a slowing down. We know that some states are wanting to defund and dismantle police departments and turn into a community effort. Federal change is going to assist and blanket the country so that we can stop seeing instances of need a neck, of death by police. Like, that's not even what they were initially, created to do. They weren't created to go out and assault the community. They were created to go out and serve the community and protect. So to protect and serve has always been the police motto. So kudos and push and drive your local legislation that is coming up for police reform, if that's what you want. If that's not what you want, then do your own protests. You can anti-protest too. I'm not going to tell people not to do what they have a right to do, because I sure as fuck don't want anybody to tell me not to do what I have a right to do. But at the same time, like, to go onto somebody's post, and this is kind of what's been happening. I'll post something that shows police brutality, and of course you'll have like the troll, or you'll have the individual who's like, I've got police family. And I'm like, cool, like that's great. And I've had people be tased right in front of me who were my family, or I've had people be beaten by a cop, shot in the leg by a cop, thrown on the ground. In Roswell, you see a lot of cop violence, but the difference, the difference for me growing up in Roswell is that Roswell, you also see a lot of like community against police violence. It's kind of equal. And it's a balance that's actually in the city. The people of Roswell in general don't have a fear of the police. We really don't. And that's because the police force can go out and hurt the public, but the community tends to also have its instances where they beat the shit or shoot police. Like, it's a balance in Roswell. So growing up, I was always taught that if a police officer comes at me sideways or wants to, talk over me or wants to whatever, like, I have a right to vocalize. I have a right to be like, no, motherfucker, you need to shut up and listen. You work for me. Like, my taxes pay your salary. I'm not assaulting you. In my opinion, you're a fucking dickhead, but I'm not touching you. I'm not putting my hands on you. And you're going to talk to me with respect if you expect me to talk to you with respect. And that's just human policy. And you can ask almost anybody in my family who has actually seen me interact with a police officer. I treat them like I would a child if they want to, throw a tantrum and talk over me. Like, that's not how it's going to go. And even in back in February, when I was pulled out of my car, called a wetback, and assaulted by a husband and a wife, when the police showed up, they called my family thugs. My family lived like a couple blocks away from the scene, and they ran to the scene. Mind you, my family, who is not blood related, but it's my family, it's the family I've built, are Black. All of them. And so when they ran up on the scene, the police officer was like, "Why'd you call your crew? Why you got thugs here?" And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And you hear me on the body camera, because all this stuff came out in my trial. Because they gave me a ticket. Like, I got pulled out of my car. I got kicked in the head by the dude, the husband, while I was on the ground. I got punched from the back of my head all the way down because I was on top of his wife, just giving her what she came for. Don't start no shit, won't be no shit. But he got involved, kicked me in the back of the head, punched me, and I got served with a fighting ticket, with a disorderly conduct, public nuisance, and fighting ticket. And so they pled guilty to theirs because they got tickets too. But the husband tried to kill me. Like, there was no, he was beating the shit out of the back of my head and my back while I continued to beat the shit out of his wife. So I had to self-defend. He came out and assaulted me. The police officers were like, "Why'd you call your crew?" And I'm like, "What? What?" Good morning, Mary Jane. Mutual human respect is definitely lacking. So yeah, police officers were like, "Why'd you call your crew? Why you got thugs on scene?" And they brought out the body cam footage at my trial. And the body cam footage did nothing but paint the picture that the judge was like, "Man, she did whatever she could." The jury, I was found not guilty. The body cam footage, you could see me tell the police officer, like, "Who are you talking to in that tone?" Like, for one, I'm sitting here bleeding. I've got a busted eye, which I have a scar above my eye now. I had every single one of my fingernails ripped out. It was a complete shit show. Honestly, I was the only one actually injured with blood and wounds. And well, she had some scalp wounds and some bruises, but, like, you know what I'm saying? I was the only one bleeding. So the cop, when he started talking about, "Well, why'd you call your crew?" I was like, "Who the fuck are you talking to?" Like, for one, you don't come up on a scene and start copping attitude. Like, you're getting paid to do this. This is your fucking job. So you either respect your badge or you find another fucking job. I heard 7-Eleven is hiring, boo. Like, and the people, the jury at my trial was kind of like, you don't, like, I'm not disrespecting you. Don't come at me sideways because you have a badge. You think that you can talk to people however you want. It's not how it fucking works, dude. Like, at all. I know that you are a servant of the people by law, written in the books. You want that changed? You want it to be the slave master of the people? You better go fight for that change, boo. Otherwise, this is what you got hired under. And that's what's up. You know, police have overstepped their bounds in so many ways, but in so many ways, it's because we've allowed it. In so many ways, there's a matter of, we need to educate the people so they know that they can stand up and they can tell a cop, "Mm-mm, mm-mm, you are not going to disrespect me, sir." Like, that is not how it's gonna work, dude. Like, I'm done talking to you. I want your supervisor. And if your supervisor wants to be a dick, I want his supervisor. And there's a way that I will follow the lay of the law and get you fired, boo. Like, it's really that easy. And when, like, in my experience, I have had cops be like, "No, I'm a cop. Shut up. Shut the fuck up." You may shut me up right now, but let me tell you, this is not the last of you hearing from me or about me or what I'm going to do to you. Like, that's it. Our police force, let's see. Our police force is the same. Forget they are working for taxpayers. Initiator force. Fuck yes. Love you, stay strong. Sadly, we have to train our children. Okay, that right there is a critical point. that I've mentioned to several people who are like, all lives matter, blue lives matter. Okay, blue lives murder. That's what the fuck. You see this in the bottom? Hashtag blue lives murder. Okay, if blue lives were out there doing their motherfucking job that they get paid for by taxpayer funds, okay, by federal funding, that they get money from us slaving our asses off at work so we could pay our bills, but also so we could pay their fucking their salaries. They are civil servants of the land. But it has become so crucial in this world that people of color have to teach their children how to interact with police officers. My kids didn't sign up or apply for a job to serve the police. So why are they having to get training? Because this shit is embedded in our historical DNA, and anyone who wants to deny it is full of fucking shit, in my opinion. And that's just straight up full of fucking shit, in my opinion. The reason that we have to teach, my parents had to teach me how to interact with police officers. That's why my mom was like, you know what? You have laws that you have to abide by. You have this and that and this and that. And police officers are to enforce that. But if you're not breaking a law, if you're not doing something wrong and they're fucking with you, that's a whole different story. And you have these rights. You have the right to say this, and you have the right to do this, and you do not have the right to put your hands on a police officer, and the police officer doesn't have a right to put their hands on you if they are not enforcing a law that you have broken. You cannot be detained. You can always ask. Remember, there's lots of tools out there now that you can Google and find out what your rights are when an officer pulls you over. There are cards that you can carry that an officer can read. You don't answer questions. You don't do this. And you have the right under law. That's why your Miranda rights state you have the right to remain silent. Remember that. That is a primary right that you are fucking given when it comes to police officers. You have the right to remain silent. Don't tell them motherfuckers anything at all. Don't interact with them at all. They want your license. They can look at it through your window of your car. You don't have to talk to them. Now, if they become brutal, record everything, every interaction. You guys, this right here has become part of civil rights. This is part of our civil rights right here. This is a fucking tool for us to definitely enforce our rights in this country. So don't leave home without it. And most of us don't anyways. You know, this has become a crucial part of your life, because whenever you're interacting with people who feel entitled to take your life if they want to, then you got to protect your motherfucking self. You've got to find ways. And live stream has become a big one, you guys. But at the same time, like, just know that if the outcome is not pleasant, like, that shit's gonna go viral and everybody is going to see it. We have to be able to hold police accountable. We have to be able to tell them, you know what, you work for us. And if you're not going to work for the people, then what the fuck are you doing on our force? I want you fired. And then, you know, there should be a process where, you know, we can not just file complaints. Fuck that complaint process bullshit. I went through that with the cop at scene who called my family thugs. This shit don't fucking do nothing. I sent emails. I did everything they wanted, sent every piece of evidence I had, and nothing. The police officer is still on the force. He testified at my case. And it was funny because he was like, no, Miss Izquierdo, she seemed like she was very calm, and she was trying to calm down the situation. But he was a witness of the prosecution, of the DA. You're straight up saying that I was calm, cool, collected. Why? Because I knew you as an officer, you work for me, boo. And when you started being disrespectful, I was done talking to you. I was done. And I was glad that everybody had body cameras because that worked in my favor in my case, you know. But at the same time, like, we have police officers that are walking around with this sense of entitlement. And the only reason they have this sense of entitlement is because they have been allowed for years, for lifetimes, to do whatever the fuck they wanted. And that's just not how the way it is supposed to go. So there has to be some federal change. There has to be local change. There has to be organizations. There has to be community organized. Like, you guys need to organize in your community. If you really want change, you have to organize in your community, because it is a matter of people of color having to now teach, or not now, having to continuously teach their children rules that shouldn't be fucking taught. Like, you need to be aware a police officer can shoot you. Put your hands up, say hands up, don't shoot. Like, what the fuck? Okay, like, why should that be a lesson that we have to give to our children? Do you know what kind of fucking like traumatic experience it is to go through mentally when you're a kid? Because your kid brain tends to be very vivid, very a great sense of imagination. And when you have parents telling you, they get pulled over and you're in the back of the car and they're like, don't say nothing, don't move, don't say nothing. What kind of, and it's a fender bender, it's something very minor, and they're like, police are here, don't don't move. I remember my mom getting into a fender bender, and fucking, we were kids, I was like maybe 8 or 9, and she was like, don't say nothing, don't look at him, don't do nothing, don't move, just don't move. Passing, driving down the street, her not, and us not doing anything other than, we had a fender bender. Ooh, no damage, none of that. Like, literally, that type of lesson instills generational fear, because we have been generationally targeted disproportionately. We have, and people are like, well, the numbers are here, whites get arrested more often. Do the calculations per demographic. The only reason in the United States that whites are at a higher number in anything is because they're at a higher number of the population. In America, they are a larger number of our population. So of course their fucking numbers are going to be higher, but adjust those numbers mathematically, which any mathematically inclined person will tell you. Anybody, IT, scientists, break it down per capita, okay, per capita, per demographic, and you will see that Blacks and Latinos are at a higher rate of getting assaulted, shot, murdered, arrested by police in this country. So that is why we have to generationally tell our children every single fucking time that don't move, don't say nothing, don't do nothing, just comply. Okay, so if the motherfucker is doing something against our laws, we still need to comply in order to get through it? Where does that make sense, that a police officer is able to violate constitutional rights, legal rights, local rights, state rights? Why is that? Why does he get to become judge and jury and I'm just supposed to fucking comply? That's not the way it works. They believe that I committed a crime and they have evidence, to which they have a procedure, and they also have non-lethal forces to utilize before deadly force. There are processes, there are policies, but the fact that people in blue have a quick to go to the gun instead of a quick to go to the talk, and let's talk to this person, let's get this person in the right state so that they can trust us. Police officers are supposed to earn our trust, yo. Like, for real. Public trust is gone. We have no society without it, and it's gone. My 16-year-old son was attacked at school by police. They detained him and took him off school property because I was at work. The misses a call for permission to integrate him as a witness to a fight he was not involved in. Take back our kids, stop education at public schools with the broken ass curriculum. So I want to speak to that too, because so I taught pre-K, which is daycare essentially. but pre-K for 8.5 years, you guys. And I know this is covering my face, but I think this needs to be read. I taught pre-K for 8.5 years, and I was one of the only pre-K teachers in all of the facilities that I ever worked at during, in that 8 years to have an actual curriculum for 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and structure. And I educated myself, and I went through training, and I'm actually trained. I have a 45-hour completion certification in family support and early childhood education. And the things that they teach you in those programs, which is really, I think, is a police officer should actually take them. It teaches you the psychological, like the psychology of a family structure, and the fact that every family is different, and the fact that some families deal with certain aspects in living day to day that can cause psychological damage to their children. And that's where we sadly we have to train our children just to protect them. That's where that mentality comes from. And that is what our mentality is when it comes to people who live, and I'm not going to just say people of color, because I'm going to say this. As much as I stand up and I fight for the rights of people of color in the cannabis space and in general, and I'm willing to, get my ass beat by a dude because, they wanted to call me wetbacks and racial slurs, and then they wanted to hit me, and I'm going to protect myself. But I'm willing to put my life on the line to speak up for this, because I have kids that I'm putting out in the world that have to live day by day with these stigmas, these inherited stigmas, these inherited and senses of entitlement. Nobody's entitled to take your life. No one. And even the death penalty, to a certain extent, rubs me the wrong way. Okay. Now, I am eye for an eye. I am, if you maliciously intended on killing someone, you went out there and killed somebody, you're a serial killer, eye for an eye all day. But with certain circumstances, if you're getting beaten by police officers in the Rodney King incident, if he would have had a damn, Uzi, which is against the law, and he would have pulled that motherfucker out and shot all them cops, I would have been completely for it, because they beat him almost to death. And it took multiple cops. This multiple cop shit is what I'm not understanding too. Like, what's up, Laura? I didn't miss out on you. I was just in the middle of a point. Love you. Like, it is true. It is true. The public has lost trust. Like, communities have lost trust in the police force. And we've seen instances, and it's all over the place. So we see it all the time. It's in our face, which is a big difference as to the 1950s, the 1940s, the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s. 90s, we had video camera evidence for Rodney King, and those police officers still got dismissed. So I'm telling you right now, like, it's going to take a long time. This is just a start. These local initiatives are a start. And it's a great start. It's a perfect start. But federal change is needed. So we want to team up with people who want to fight the good fight and try to make federal policies that are going to allow for our children not to necessarily be traumatized as children, because they're having to be taught that their lives may potentially be taken by the people who are hired to protect and serve them. I don't want to stray in any sense from, the Black Lives Matter movement. Disproportionately, they are targeted at a higher rate of police brutality, being shot, being unarmed and shot. But Latinos aren't that far behind either. And people of color need to stand. We have to stand together. Like, we need to stop. I've been seeing a lot of this fucking division too, and it really irritates me. I've had people go on my posts and be like, why do you care? You're not Black. Yes, I fucking am. And guess what? A majority of you motherfuckers out there will find out you have Black in you too. Why? Because humans started out in Africa, yo. So when you get your DNA will show you what percentage of African you still hold in you. Okay. I'm Dominicana. I am Puerto Riqueña. My father is from Puerto Rico, born in Puerto Rico. His mother was Dominican, born in Dominican Republic. My mother is Mexican. So I am, and my DNA don't lie. So if you want to question how much black I have in me or whether I have any black in me, let me know because I have my DNA. I took my ancestry DNA way back when, and it gets updated consistently. And just the last time I checked, I have more African in me than I had before. So it got updated again. So anybody who is like, you shouldn't be worried about it, and not only that, I have a black daughter. My daughter's black. She's Creole. So I do have to worry about that double time. So for all of you who want to say I shouldn't speak on anything because I'm not black, this is not just a black issue. They are at a higher rate. So yes, black lives fucking matter. This is a human issue. This is a societal issue. This is a judicial issue. This is a we don't trust the motherfucking police. People have been saying fuck the police for a very long time. There is a reason for it. We have always had a majority of people who supported the police. And now, with the murder of George Floyd, some of you are still in denial that this is systematic. Some of you are still in denial that this is historic. Some of you are in denial that this has not become, okay, a tradition because it has become a tradition in our society. So that's my steps are to make you very aware of it because it's everywhere and it's our truth. If it's not your truth, it's definitely IRL. It definitely happens IRL. So get the fuck offline. Stop feeding into your bullshit. Step out into your communities that you rarely fucking step into and actually see how people live or see how people are treated. Do not assume because it doesn't happen to you that it doesn't happen. Period. The same way those communities shouldn't assume because it doesn't happen to them that it doesn't happen to you, which typically positive shit don't happen to impoverished communities. So they don't believe that positivity works or happens. But you may be in a stage in your life where positivity is all around you. Do you get it? Just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't exist. In our tradition, so it was illegal for men to even look at women, not their sisters or wife. Indian law was followed without force, but respect for order. White men drive to our reservation to prey on our women. And as far as Chicano history, I mean, the Zoot Suit riots. You guys, if you don't recall why the Zoot Suit riots had been created, or what Chicanos went through back in the day when we created the Brown Berets, and like what the 70s, and the Chicano movement, and Cesar Chavez, and speaking up for Mexican migrant workers, and there's some great movies that are out there. You guys like entertainment for some reason or another, you not historical facts, but there are a lot of movies related to what Chicanos, what natives, what our demographic, because we're all tied, what we went through. And if you really want to see like what we've provided to this land, which makes no sense as to why we are going through what we're going through. People of color have tended to this land after generation upon generation upon generation upon generation upon generation upon generation, and you live off that land, but yet you have no appreciation for who we are. You have no appreciation for what we've done, how we've lived, and it's become a tradition for us to be disrespected, and that's no longer like a way that we're going to allow to happen. That's just, you know what I'm saying? But Zoot Suit riots, there's a lot of information regarding our history, and there's still historical places that have been preserved that show you the history. I think I just recently watched a movie called Just Mercy. And it's a very amazing film. It's the story about murder, death row inmates who potentially were given life sentences for crimes they didn't commit. These are innocent men who were on death row for crimes that they still stated they did not commit. And in that time of the movie, these men were on death row because they were Black and assumed to be no evidence besides maybe one person's testimony, and it was another inmate who ended up getting a transfer and all these benefits offered to them in order to testify. And it tells the story of one man and his attorney who let me look this up real quick. Because I want to make sure that I get his name right. His name was Bryan Stevenson, and Bryan Stevenson is actually a civil rights attorney. He is he stands up for judicial reform. He has been trying to get death row inmates second tries on trials whenever they don't have, like, there's a lack of evidence. There's no eyewitness testimony. They were literally just found guilty because they were basically a person of color. And so Bryan Stevenson actually heads, so in the movie, he heads to Alabama to defend those wrongly condemned or people who couldn't afford proper representation. He goes and looks at their file, and he finds the case of Walter McMillan. You guys, this is based on a true story. Walter McMillan was on death row, found guilty for murdering an 18-year-old girl, and despite all the evidence providing his innocence, he was still sentenced to die. He was sentenced to die of electric chair. 6 years he served time in prison before Bryan Stevenson got the Supreme Court of Alabama, or the Supreme Court, to give him a new trial and dismiss all the charges. They dismissed completely. So he served 6 years for nothing, simply because he was Black in a city and a state that did not approve of Blacks. And so Bryan Stevenson, he has done tremendous work. And one thing that he said in multiple interviews that I stand beside, I push, I feel it's an amazing idea. It's an amazing thing that we can organize and we can get funding for on a federal level for. All those funds that need to be taken away from the police departments can be going towards these type of things. We have monuments across the country of leaders, founding fathers, captains and corporals and lieutenants in the military from past who had a part either owning slaves, part of the KKK. That was very, very predominant back in the day. Politicians always had some type of association with KKK because, like Stapleton in Colorado, because those numbers allowed them to get political pull. So Bryan Stevenson states, we have all of these monuments all over the country to represent these men who in many aspects were what we would consider evil now in today's world. I think we should have monuments all over the world that represent the pain that the people of our history have brought onto, natives. We should have a native monument, a native slaughter monument, a monument that doesn't allow us to forget that in all of the threads that you want to weave about America being the greatest country, those webs or those threads that are being woven were weaved by the blood, sweat, tears, and lives of people of color. And I don't want to not, recognize that in many cases, the underlying base of racism, of discrimination, of hate is classism, is wealthy against the poor or those communities. And believe it or not, in many cases, like there's people who are upset because, they believe that terms like cracker for Caucasians is something that we created, when in fact we didn't. Those were terms that you gave your slave tamers, you gave your slave handlers. They were called the crackers of your field because they cracked whips. The term white trash, we didn't create that either. That was a term created by the North to describe the South, because the South Anglos could not afford slaves. Like, you should really go into your history and find out how systematic this has become and where the roots actually lie. I've seen numerous videos during these protests and these riots about officers busting out windows and trying to pretend that they're civilians busting out windows, dressing in all black and throwing bricks to target windows, but they're not part of the Black Lives Matter movement. They're not even part of the protest. You see the Black Lives Matter protesters filming these people like, what are you doing? Stop. This isn't what we want. So, I mean, there's tons of evidence out there in the world now that we do have these little gadgets and GoPros and, cameras that we can carry with us. Because it's in our face, now it's obvious that it exists, but for some of us, it's been in our face our entire fucking lives. So I'm just posting to remind you, and it's pissing people off, and I don't care. If I have to consistently post to remind you that this is something that is embedded in our historical DNA, and it's going to take a lot more than just local legislation, but that is where we need to start, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep sharing the shit that puts it in your face. And you can say all lives matter. You can reply to it. I don't care. I will definitely rebut. We'll go ahead and have a adult conversation about it. But if you start getting ignorant about it, start calling names, like, we're definitely going to go on that tip too. Because I am cool with that. I have a very wicked tongue and a very sharp mind. So we can go all day, boo. So yeah, it's all of my posts are making people angry, but it's allowing me to free some space on my friends list. So if you guys want to join my friends list or have been waiting on my friend request list for a while, you'll be added soon. But I think it's kind of funny. So yeah, I've been posting posts about police. It's making people on my friends list show their true colors. So I've lost like about 40 people in the last week, which isn't a big number. I've seen a lot of people who are like, man, I erased like 200 people from my list because they're all racist. Now, in my opinion, just because you don't agree with my stance on police, reform or police federal change, if you don't stand on that side, I'm not going to automatically assume that you're a racist. But if you go on to some shit and you start talking some mad shit about George Floyd and his death, or I see a picture of you with your knee on someone's neck trying to mock it, I'm not only going to block you, I'm going to curse you out first and then block you. I'm going to do that shady shit move. I'm going to go, you're a fucking dickheaded motherfucker. Block. You can't reply to me either. like, that's some shit. I've seen some people, and I actually have a dude that I made a post that was supposed to be funny yesterday. I was like, I told my son not to use dirty words like cop. And this guy was like, he needs to tell mom that she's sick. And I was like, okay. And hashtag Blue Lives Murder. And then he replies back, he needs to tell mom that she needs therapy. And then he asked me if I was brainwashed. And then he said, I have a lot of friends and family who are strong, hardworking, compassionate cops. Hashtag think about your hate or something like that. And so I replied back, that's great. I have lots of friends and family who have been tased, shot, assaulted, thrown on the ground, mistreated, disrespected by police officers. Hashtag think about your narcissism. You know, when we're dealing with things like this in the country, like we have to be able to step back and, okay, the cops don't do that. Cool. That's what they're not supposed to do. They're doing their job. So I'm not going to give them praise because they have a paycheck that praises them for doing their job. Like if a Kmart worker stocks the shelves, does it according to policy, they receive a check. That's their job. Police officers are no different. So I'm not going to praise the police officers who do their fucking job. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. I'm going to talk shit and make everybody very aware that when they come onto my social media, they know where I stand. And there are tons of police officers out there that are not doing their job. There are tons of police officers who fucking assault people and feel entitled to do so because they wear a badge. There are tons of videos out there you can watch. I just watched one yesterday of a police officer who is about to serve almost a life sentence because he planted meth on people nonstop to boost his fucking ticket and arrest numbers. He thought that was important. What? Like, those are the people that we're fucking angry at. People who fucking abuse their authority or their power. People who fucking feel entitled because they wear a badge. Ain't nobody entitled to shit. Like, period. And I understand that the world does not have to agree with me. The world does not have to care about my feelings. That's perfectly fine. But the reality be told, right now, there is a general consensus that I'm not the only one who feels this way. So I don't know what to say to those of you who are angry at my sharing the posts in on my social media that show the police brutality that we live through. So sorry for you. So I'm about to load it. Do a little tuk before we leave. Got some Princess Leia. Yum yum. Nom, 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 nom. This is so sugary. I wish I had a light right here. My ring light's like, because I'm at my dinner table. So my ring light's like on the side over there. I can't get it up close and personal. Well, I might be able to show you guys how pretty the hairs are. Maybe. Let's get some. It's so sugary. I wish it would focus. Actually, oh no. My magnifying glass is over there on the coffee table. Okay. So we're gonna toke, and then I'm gonna bounce. Got some things to do. I gotta go to the DMV today. I gotta go get emissions done today. Ugh. Curfew violations dismissed. I don't know where you're at. Did you guys have a curfew put in place so that people couldn't go outside? and protest. Denver put out a curfew, but they arrested like 100 people, and then they're dismissing all the charges. I'm like, well, why did you put the fucking curfew on in the first place, to scare people? So retarded. I don't know. By definition, that is a very stupid move. So, I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my rant. People are angry at my feed, and I really don't care. I'm glad. I hope I initiate people to actually do something, because I'm pissing people off in different ways. It's one, I'm making people angry because they're seeing the injustice in this world, and it's making them want to take action. That is amazing. That is beautiful. And then I also have people who I'm pissing off where they want to take action on me. And I'm just going to tell you guys, like, I don't fear people's wrath. I like general jealousy, anger based on personal hurt. I fear community wrath based on the fight for injustice. And I fear that simply because it's not going to stop and nobody's taking them seriously. People repeat, MLK said, riots are the voice of the unheard. Like, it's going to continue and it's going to burn. And people are going to do what they can to have their voice heard. So I hope to organize people who want their voice to be heard, to organize them to create federal change. Let's do the local. They're on the local tip now. We want federal reform, and we want the reform that we offer to have the public included in honing that, in sculpting that, in what do we want to see? What is it that we as the people of this fucking country want when it comes to somebody who is supposed to serve us? Why aren't we involved in having a voice? I think there needs to be a solid federal reform organization for the improvement of demographics who have suffered in this country, who've always been seen as second-class citizens, chosen, having our government continuously not back us in having that type of change, where we can start to actually create the equal level playing fields that so many rights and constitutional rights and all of that was created for, to create an equal land. And we've never had an equal land. So, hopefully these local reforms get the ball rolling, but it's going to take a lot more. And so I hope to organize. I hope to continue to organize. So far, I have a solid group who, we have attorneys, we have people who are chief political advisors, we have Sean King, who wants to partner with us. I am actually on the volunteer team for Grassroots Law, which is Sean King's organization. Like, we're going to continue to work for federal reform, because federal reform that the people in the communities of so many different areas have a voice in creating, that's going to, I think I broke my finger. Fucking hurts. That's going to create the change that is needed to have that equal level playing field. So we have a group that we've been sharing hashtags for, so judicial upgrade. Leaders for change. and delete racism. Are all hashtags that have been associated with some of the movements that we have been pushing here the last couple weeks. If you would like to join our reform team or reform group, please email that email, canamender@gmail.com, and then we will get your information, tell you a little bit about where we're at and what we're doing. I haven't been very active in there recently because I have been more active on phone calls, emails, gathering more people, pooling legislation terms, learning what our next steps are, and starting probably tomorrow, I should have tons of things updated in our monday.com, which I think we're going to switch over to Slack because we have a lot more people joining and it's going to cost us some money. We don't have that money yet. I mean, I can pay for it myself, but this is all being pushed by a group that is associated to the cannabis industry. So we're trying to make change. We tried to do this before with United for Relief. We are now doing this with Judicial Upgrade. So there's some hashtags, you guys, you can click on those hashtags or search those hashtags and find some more information about our reform team that we're building and just kind of what we're doing right now as social media campaigns to try to help delete racism off of social media. We do believe everybody has the right to say what they want to say. That's what is your right in this country. We just don't. We also have the right not to hear it. We also have the right not to see it. And so if you don't like it, then stop harboring it on your social media, like straight up. So yeah, I hope that we actually achieve our goals in fighting for federal change, federal reform, and federal guidelines for police and policies and procedures to create change. So yay, I'm kind of baked. I'm about to go jump in the shower, get my day completely started, and I hope you guys have a fantastic, I believe, Thursday. And yeah, hadn't done a live stream, figured I'd do one now and show you guys our new production, which is great. We're going to go ahead and close out of our banners. Yes, yes, yes. Wakey Bakey with La Reina de Mota. And I hope you guys have a great and fantastic rest of your week. I will be back on live stream. We'll have more. I'm loving my little overlays and all this production stuff. Canna Catwalk, don't forget that. We are still doing this. August 28th through the 30th, 3 days of streaming, 8 hours a day, different stuff on each day. We have tons of speakers who are coming, who have been added to the list. We've got some promos that are coming out here in the next couple days, and we're going to hit it hard. If you want sponsorship or you want a vendor opportunity, part of Canna Catwalk virtual history making runway event. Yeah, they range from $50 all the way up to $800, where typically on an event you would spend, you know, two grand for a sponsorship package. Canna Catwalk virtual is $50 through $800. $800 is our top tier sponsors, so you get to be our headlining sponsors. And yeah, more to come from Canna Catwalk virtual. You guys, it's gonna be dope. I hope you guys like the new little setup. Please comment below and let me know. Give me some constructive criticism on how you like or don't like my videos. And yeah, this is also streaming on YouTube. So if you don't find it on Facebook after this and you want to rewatch it, head over to YouTube and search Embrace the AI Productions, and you'll find more. Love you guys so much. Peace. One love. I'm out.